All right, good evening, everybody. It is your friend Justin here. Welcome to another edition of Retweet Reactions, where I basically just go over retweets that I posted on my X account, Twitter, whatever. My X account is 3MCJD1, so please follow me on here. As you know, this is where I really talk about the serious stuff, where there's not as much censorship, of course, as the Meta-owned platforms or whatever. So anyway, let's just get right into it here. So first one, I don't know really who this lady is. I follow her. She posts a lot of really good stuff and stuff that I agree with for the most part. But she's going to go on to say or post this or whatever. If you're silent about your beliefs because you're worried someone will be offended, then your beliefs are not that important to you, but rather what people think about you is. When you stand up for what's right and true, you'll receive both hate and love, but everyone will know what you're fighting for. And that's very true. I've been putting stuff out on social media, talking about truth as people for a good 5 or 6 years now. And, a lot of people unfollow me. A lot of people stop talking to me over it. A lot of people, just think I'm weird because of it, I guess. And, you can't even talk about this stuff in the workplace, right? You can't talk about it with your coworkers. You can't necessarily even talk about it with your neighbors. Because if you talk about it with your neighbors, it might cause an argument. People are gonna look at you a certain way, and then you gotta, you live amongst these people, so then they're gonna view you, a certain way. And it really takes a certain kind of person to be able to handle persecution, the way that people who stand for truth do, because ultimately the truth makes people mad. People don't like to hear the truth. There's something about truth that when people hear it, there's a spirit that stirs up in them that where people get angry, or there's some sort of emotion that gets pulled because it's the truth, right? The truth is supposed to hurt. So anyway, what I'm getting at here is, the part where it says when you stand up for what's right and true, you're going to receive both hate and love. It's true because there are going to be people who might not even say anything to you, because there's been, for example, in my life, there's plenty of people who have, when I see them in person, they say they like my tweets, or they like when I post my stuff on Instagram or Snapchat when I had Snapchat, or whatever platform, YouTube, whatever. And people just have told me in person they like it. I've received better things in person for the most part than negative. Really just over the internet, it's negative stuff. People don't usually have the guts to say what they want to say to your face. So don't get it twisted. When you say certain things, yeah, people are going to get mad inevitably, but there's going to be people who like what you say and respect you for it. And you might inspire something in them to further look into truth and understand truth. And it could really save someone's soul. So that's my little spiel for that. So I tweeted earlier today, there were no mass shootings before the government decided to come after the Second Amendment. So I found it interesting because I thought about this earlier. I was like, there were really no mass shootings, right? You never heard about these things before the Second Amendment became obviously under attack. And now the Liberal Party, the Democrats, are the ones being used ultimately as the party, the political party that wants to take guns away. And, it starts off with these, let's do the background checks, make them more strict. Do mental evaluations or whatever, which, there should, of course, be sanity checks for people purchasing weapons of any sort. Sure, I agree with that. But, you give them an inch, they'll take a yard, so on and so forth. So then they say, okay, well, we can't, let's make rules about, assault rifles, things like that. So, again, it's good. I don't think this is an agenda, really, when it comes to the Second Amendment. Like, they're probably not going to be able to take Americans' weapons away. There's more guns than people in the United States. So that's probably not going to happen. But all they can really do is try to get as much people on board as they can to be, anti-gun, not even own one, be all up for giving up weapons to the government, things like that. So that's what the point of these mass shootings are. Listen, if you know, there's only so much I could say before, my YouTube channel, whatever, gets a strike. Because for those of you who don't know, I had a YouTube channel that originally I started in 2019. that had 7,000 subscribers, nothing crazy, but I lost my following because in 2021, I went in on COVID talking about the entire truth behind it and what it was really about, and my channel gets terminated overnight. Excuse me. But these mass shootings you've seen over the years, Sandy Hook or the Las Vegas shooting, Columbine, I mean, whatever it is, even these small ones that pop up here and there that don't get so much media attention, there's always an agenda behind it. Some of them are organic and real, and they're going to make a story out of it because that helps that agenda of the gun grab. But for the most part, these are planned. These are planned events. Some of them are completely staged. Some of them, real people die in them, unfortunately. That just, obviously the elite don't care if an innocent person dies with all the shit they've done. I'm sure I don't have to explain to you that the government doesn't care about you or your health, or you being alive, for that matter. And this is a cool video here. I'm not even going to play it, because last time I played a video, I got from Twitter, I got a strike or whatever. Not a strike, but some sort of warning because of the music on it. I mean, it was just ridiculous. Alright, so this is really interesting here. Now, if you've followed me for, since I started my channel in 2019, I was showing this in 2020 a lot. The Bill Gates cryptocurrency patent or whatever, he has basically the biometric thing or whatever chip. I don't know what they plan on using exactly. That's going to go inside you, and it's almost like a digital bank inside you. It goes hand in hand with 6G, whatever, Wi-Fi systems that they got going on, the microwaves that they got going on. So, I showed this a while ago, but the patent is 666 right here. You subliminally have that right there. Number of the beast, obviously in biblical terms. And yeah, it was all the way back March 26th of 2020. So, remember I showed you this and how they had a patent for it. It's old news at this point. I don't even remember exactly what it was. Some sort of biometric thing, basically, that goes inside you. Remember that whole conspiracy theory about the microchip that was going to go inside us? Well, it's not going to be that exactly, but it'll be something along those lines. I mean, what do you think all these vaccines were for? And we're paying from our phones now with everything. We don't even use our cards anymore. We just use our phone. You just tap your phone, right? I see it in places that I go at. When I go to restaurants and stuff, it's like I see people they scan their phone and it's all paid for. And even for me, and I'm of this younger generation here, and it's like, even to me, that's pretty crazy. So, listen, I don't know what exactly is going to come about with all this. There's so many, there's dozens of different avenues the elite could take when it comes to what they can do. But we can see what's going on right now, and the United States is just falling. The United States. I mean, everyone's getting priced out. There's really no such thing as the middle class anymore, and no one can survive. Things are obviously going to get worse. I don't even know who the president of the country is right now. I haven't seen Joe Biden much at all since he stepped down or whatever. It's just a joke. Everything's just a joke. And then the Republicans are under Trump derangement system where they're just infatuated with him. They love him. They can't get they just hang on every word he says. It's crazy what's going on. And this is the ultimate goal, though. What they want. I mean, this is what they want. Something along the lines of going inside you, where not only it's going to be some sort of banking system, it can be it could be some sort of vaccine that updates wirelessly your medical records, dental records, keep track of what food you ate that day, how much carbon emissions you have, where you were, your location, how much you walked, where you've been, who you're talking to. I mean, it's wild, really. The phones can already practically do these things. It's just not inside us, right? That's the whole point. They want to get inside you, as if they don't have. They already know all there is to know about you. That's why I don't get. Oh, excuse me. That's why I don't get. This is my old X account right here, JMasterPros25. But that's why I don't get why people. They want to do the Proton email and be all secretive, secret agent, man, all that stuff. And it's just like, what's the point? They know who you are. If you know about this stuff and you've been talking about it, whether you've done it publicly or not, they know who you are. You know what I'm saying? It's not This isn't. It's not like they don't know who you are. Okay. So there's no point. Like that's what I'm saying, and it goes to like what this is earlier. Like there's no point in like being silent and hiding it because of what other people are going to say, because this shit is happening. Like we are at a point where conspiracy theories and stuff I've been talking about for not even that long, for like 5 or 6 years now only. It's just all coming true. And the crazy thing is even my own friends or family, like I've talked about it with them, and they obviously dismiss it. They don't take it serious, and they don't even say to me like, "Yo, Justin, you were actually right," or "Justin, you're the stuff you've been saying is true." And I'm not looking for a pat on the back. It's just the fact that I'm telling you, like, as your friend, as obviously, or your family member, someone who you trust, and you see what I'm talking about, and you still just dismiss it as whatever. So anyway, there's my spiel on that. Male feminist wondering how long does he have to agree with women until he gets laid. Well, this is funny right here. You see, when you're a male and you claim to be some sort of feminist, or you really do, or you have convinced yourself that you are a feminist and you participate in feminist rallies and hang out with feminist women and just talk all this bad stuff about men and all this stuff, it's the women who you like think that are men do this because they think that they're gonna get laid. They do this because they think that the woman will like them because they believe in what they believe in, and they're trying to relate to the woman and be like the woman, and the woman actually finds it repulsive. You will 9 out of 10 times get friend zone in a situation like this. If you're a woman and you know a male feminist, you should run from the guy, because that's a very manipulative and dangerous guy right there. You see, he's basically hanging out with you or your friends because and saying he has these beliefs because he's expecting sex in the end of the day. And this is a very manipulative type of man. It's not the alpha male that's like all dominant and masculine, this and that. It's really the men who are weak, like someone like a male feminist, because they're doing, and someone with a nice guy syndrome, a guy with a nice guy syndrome, they're very manipulative and dangerous because they suffer from yes man syndrome or something. They just can't say no, ultimately. They can't tell women no, especially. So what happens a lot is these guys just agree or go along to get along, and they're expecting sex. So ultimately everything they're doing is for sex in the end of the day. They're being really nice, and they're being really agreeable, and they're saying they have these feminist values because ultimately these men want to get laid. And it's just it's hard to explain because these guys they've convinced themselves consciously that they're doing it for the feminist movement. But believe me, if they got the opportunity to have sex with one of their female friends, they would do it. And I speak for all guys when I say that if you have a so-called platonic friendship between a male and a female, that guy 9 out of 10 times, if given the opportunity, is going to smash. He's going to have sex. You know what I mean? But anyway, enough with that, because it's really not even that important. One day, you'll realize that the crazy conspiracy theorists that the media and politicians told you not to believe were just your friends and family members who found out that humanity was genuinely in danger and they were just trying to save you. Yeah, I mean, basically what I was just saying before, right? And it really sucks to be called crazy. It sucks to be looked at as like you just don't get taken serious because you see things for what they are and you call things out for what they are, because ultimately conspiracy theories and truth has become lies in today's world. It's become lame. It's become doom and gloom, negative. It's become politically incorrect. All that stuff. You can't talk about it at work or you'll get fired. And you can't talk about it with people in general, your neighbors or whatever, because they're going to look at you like you're weird. So that's why like someone like me has to resort to online, because this is the best way to spread a message, and the people who want to listen will listen, So anyway, I won't get into that because I already did a little. JFK was assassinated over 60 years ago, and our government still refuses to release the files. Trump promised to release them, but once he saw them, he changed his mind. What is so damning that the American people can't see? So what's interesting is the JFK thing. What I believe the whole JFK thing. I believe that that was a staged event. I believe JFK didn't really die, and he just hid out after that. So, just like someone like Biggie Smalls, Tupac. I mean, these people who fake death or whatever. The whole point of that was to coin the phrase conspiracy theorists, which a lot of people are aware of that. That's pretty much when the term came around because people would look into the JFK thing, and the federal people might say the Federal Reserve was the one who killed him because he was going to expose the banks and he had a plan to remove the Federal Reserve. And yeah, that is true. That's what happened ultimately, but it's not in the way that people think. It's because the Kennedys are a pure bloodline of the elite. They're a pure bloodline. They are part of the 13 families of the Illuminati, whatever you want to call them. I'm just saying Illuminati because that's what people would know them as, the average person. So anyway, when that happened too, what they were able to do was coin the phrase conspiracy theorists, right? They were able to do that, and ever since then, it's just all the stuff that happened. It's like when people try to exercise self-autonomy, critical thinking, and just call things out really for what they are, they get called a conspiracy theorist. They get called, oh, this person's crazy, this and that. This person's paranoid or whatever, right? So that was really the point of the JFK assassination. I mean, and it was to send a message, too, ultimately, that, you might even say it was Israel that killed JFK, which, again, that's true to the extent because the banks, Israel, and the Kennedys, I mean, they're all connected. That's my point. That's the bigger picture here, is JFK, the banks, Israel, whatever. They're all connected one way or another, in one way or another, excuse me. JFK being a pure elite bloodline, Israel being, started and funded by basically the people who are affiliated with the Kennedys in that bloodline, in that 13 families, most powerful families in the world. And then the banks, because of course, the Kennedys have stake in the Federal Reserve and the media, all this stuff, because they are in cahoots with Rothschild, Rockefeller, people like them. So the bigger picture here is they're all connected. And of course, Donnie Boy Trump promised to release them, right? But once he saw them, he changed his mind. I mean, I don't even know about that part, but really, Trump is just saying anything to get people to vote for him or whatever, right? So anyway, Trump promised to release them, but here's the thing. Here's what MAGA always forgets about Trump. Is Trump promises a lot of things. Trump promised a lot of things dating back to 2016, that era, that he just never fulfilled. Throwing Hillary Clinton in jail, all this stuff, draining the swamp or whatever. I mean, with Trump, it's so annoying with Republicans because Republicans are the ones who would stand up for America way more than liberals would. Liberals are anti-America, basically, at this point. So with Trump, right, even with COVID and all that, he's the one who signed in Operation Warp Speed, the mass vaccinations, told you to get it, all this stuff, signed the country away to FEMA. I mean, I don't even want to get into that right now. So this is random, doesn't really have to do with anything I was just talking about. What if Time Magazine is as bad as you think? I mean, Time Magazine, don't see them much. You don't hear about them too much usually. What if ultra-processed foods aren't as bad as you think? So I actually made a response tweet to this. The thing about ultra-processed foods is if you're an athlete or someone who sweats a lot, maybe you work construction or especially in the summertime, if you're working a manual labor job and you sweat a lot, something like ultra-processed foods wouldn't be that bad just to replace the sodium and lost electrolytes, things like that. But if you're someone maybe who doesn't, of course, ultra-processed foods in general aren't the healthiest for you. So if you do eat them, or you are an athlete, or you are someone who sweats a lot, you are someone who works maybe manual labor outside, and especially in the summertime, you're sweating your ass off. I know I've done it in the past. ultra processed foods are actually a good option, but to make it just somewhat healthier, make sure it's high in protein, so that for muscle growth, things like that. Because the healthiest thing you can have on your body is muscle, is lean muscle. So stuff like strength training, going to the gym, lifting weights, is really the superior form of any kind of exercise that you can be doing. And I don't mean to turn this into like a gym session, but that's just a little advice for people out there. Is I firmly believe everyone should be strength training, just at least twice a week. You don't have to go a lot. You don't have to go every day at all. Just twice a week. That's really all you need. Go twice a week. Make sure you eat a lot of protein, things like that. High calorie diet if you're trying to gain muscle. Drink a lot of water, and you'll be golden. So, Joan Rivers. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with this video right here. I'll actually play it. So, for those of you who are unaware, there are obviously a lot of alleged, and a lot of evidence to prove that Michelle Obama is transgender, right? So, I'm not gonna go into so much detail about it. If you're that curious, you can look into it on your own. Oh my God, excuse me. Throat's a little dry. So you can look into it on your own if you want, but this is Joan Rivers saying that Michelle Obama is trans, and then ironically 1 month later she died. I think she just choked on food or something. She died in a weird way, just choking on something. I don't know if obviously she was poisoned or she was killed, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. Because when you say something to that extreme, especially back then, I mean, this is, 15 years ago, where she basically was saying that the first gay president is Barack Obama because Michelle's a trans, right? So I'll play the video here.
Rivers, how are you? You made a ton of news officiating the wedding in New York yesterday. Is this like a new cottage career move for you?
I am so excited.
Yeah.
And I should do very well because I don't charge.
And do you think that the United States will see the first gay president or the first woman president?
We already have it with Obama, so let's just calm down.
Got it.
You know Michelle is a trans.
I'm sorry, she's a what?
A transgender. We all know.
Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh. It's okay. She does this.
So, obviously Joan Rivers just said Michelle Obama is trans. And if you rewind this earlier, she says, I don't choke. Remember, in the very beginning, I guess she did some show or whatever, or something that she did, and the guy was asking her, and she said, I don't choke. And then a month later, she dies by choking. She choked on something. I think it was food or something, but it had to do with her choking. I know that. I could actually double check that, the way she died. Let's actually look that up right now. Rivers was sedated with propofol before she died of low blood oxygen during a procedure to treat voice changes and acid reflux. According to New York City medical examiners, River lacked sufficient oxygen to the brain for a prolonged period of time, which caused brain damage, the medical examiner said. And this is dating back to October 16th, 2014. So she died basically of choking. And, it's ironic how she said that in the beginning. So, anyway. So, I found this to be interesting. I didn't really understand it too much. Maybe one of you could point it out for me. The men's issue about the scam to pay off student loans with taxpayer dollars amounts from two facts. One, men pay 82% of taxes. Two, women have about 80% of student loans. Get it? So this is some chart here. Again, I don't really understand too much. I understand that women hold the vast majority of student loan debt, and women, as a whole, are the bulk holders of debt in the United States. That's because women are consumers. Women ultimately are not typically smart because they spend on emotions and feelings. They don't spend logically or think about long-term much about their finances, as opposed to men. But anyway, I think what he's saying is because men are paying more in taxes, Like, when a man gets married to a woman or whatever, they sign the marriage contract. I think the man is obligated to pay the woman's debt most of the time, so it's like he becomes liable for it. So I think that's why this whole flip flop thing is happening. But it's a scam. Not even just besides the gender and all that stuff, because I know there's a lot that could be said about this, but it's a scam. College. I mean, people are spending $100,000 for an associate's degree. You know what I'm saying? It's wild. So Richie from Boston, my man, he posted this. I made a tweet about this earlier. U.S. government mistakenly sends $293 million to the Taliban. What led to the goof up? Well, for those of you who know, I mean, the United States government was involved in creating the Taliban with Israel, CIA, special forces, all that stuff. They created the Taliban for a boogeyman figure because the Taliban, early 2000s, whatever, that was like the big boogeyman enemy figure that the public was supposed to be afraid of. That's why we had to go to war. Otherwise, they're going to all bomb the shit out of us with the weapons that they don't even have. But you're casually seeing the Taliban and all these terrorists in United States military equipment, helicopters, tanks, uniforms, all that stuff. So nothing suspicious there. I mean, it's just a whole sham. That's what it is. It's a whole giant scam, and this is them just telling you the truth after all these years. But again, it doesn't even matter anymore because the Taliban, 9/11, War on Terror, Osama bin Laden, Saddam Hussein, like it's just old news now. They got away with all that. So, like, these people, it's just like with COVID that just recently happened, right? No one is ever held accountable for what they do. So they just keep doing, they just keep lying and deceiving and getting what they want, which is our compliance ultimately. But, I mean, it's just, it's an utter joke at this point. But, anyway. So, yeah, I mean, the Tate's getting arrested, or this is just a whole smokescreen. We all know at this point, it's just so obvious that the Tates are agents of some sort, just distractions and smokescreens. People that are just, they say some truth, but just not the whole thing, and then they go on to promote, Muslim and all this stuff, and these guys made money from basically being pimps and all that stuff, and they still are pimps basically. I mean, it's just, and then they keep getting arrested, and it causes all this controversy and all this attention on them, and it's the oldest trick. It gives them credibility. It's just like Alex Jones, Joe Rogan type people, I mean, Joe Rogan never got arrested or anything, but like Alex Jones, the court coming after him and all this stuff, and it's just to add to these people's credibility, really, to get yourself arrested or in trouble in the public eye. So that people start to trust you more because they say, oh, look at this. Look what they're doing over here. Like they're getting in troubles and censored and all this stuff. So they must be saying some truth and they must be doing something right. And yes, they are saying some truth, but not the whole truth. Like if you say the whole truth, you're just not going to be popular. It's that simple. The algorithm's never going to push you out. You're never going to have freaking 10 million followers on like Andrew Tate does, Yeah, I mean, those of you who are not familiar with, Agenda 2030, Agenda 21, all that stuff, Agenda 21 basically happened already, and then Agenda 2030, we're in the midst of it right now, for the New World Order. For those of you who don't know what the New World Order is at this point, it's basically the whole world under one government, under one satanic law, ultimately. To put it in a very, very brief perspective, but I mean, let's go down the list here ultimately of what it is, and I can explain a lot. I'm not going to get into super detail about each one, but a lot of this is happening today. One world government didn't happen yet. One world cashless currency. This is coming, the one world cashless currency. Don't get it twisted. I mean, cash is like becoming more and more extinct as we speak. So yeah, they want cash. They want no cash because then they can't trace what you're doing, right? One world central bank, one world bank for the whole entire world. There won't be any TD Bank, Chase Bank, Bank of America, any of that. Just one bank, one world military, which is ironic with all these military-aged men coming in, not only the United States, but the UK, Ireland, I mean, wherever. They're just all over the world. Everywhere is getting taken over right now by immigrants. And a lot of these are military-aged men, which will fight in the one world military. The end of national sovereignty, the end of all privacy and property. I mean, this is happening today, of course, because no one owns anything anymore. You can't. Not only are you getting priced out by owning stuff, but even if you do, it's like, what these squatters can come in your home and just take it. Immigrants can come in your home and take it now. It's crazy, really. So I had circled the end of the family unit because it was making a point about these two. And I'll go over these two real quick. So the end of the family unit, yeah, because, right, listen, I'm 27, right? Like, no one my age really is married. No one my age has kids. And I'm not too young at all to have kids or to be married even. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's so rare to see it now. Think about it. Someone who's 25 these days, like 90% of them don't have kids or are married. Maybe that's a little much. Maybe it's more like 80 or 70. But just from what I see, like 9 out of 10 25-year-olds not married, no kids. And that's because men and women are divided. Men and women, like, it's like women don't need men anymore, really, for survival as much as they used to. So now we're divided, And now, I definitely am involved in this. Government raised children. I was raised by the government. I was raised in a public school system. I was raised by television, all those kid shows and all that stuff, all the music, all that garbage that typical kids fall for, teenagers, guys in their early 20s, late teens, drinking, partying, things like that. Of course, I know what it's like. So, listen, I'm not going to go over everything here for the sake of time, but, just something I want to point out here is the end of immigration. This is also exactly what you see going on right now and what I was just talking about. Like, no more immigration. There's not going to be Americans, Mexicans, Japanese, or Canadians, or French, Italian, German. There's not going to be any of that anymore. There's just going to be rich people and poor people. And if you're not in that 1% of earners in the world, then, my friend, you're going to be broke. So, just to end things on a more positive note, I tweeted this because it goes off of a book I'm reading called The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. And though I think that a lot of the stuff in the book is some of it's nonsense, there are lessons to be learned in everything, right? So this is a quote from the book. I was listening to the audio version of it last night. Society craves larger-than-life figures, people who stand above the general mediocrity. Never be afraid then of the qualities that set you apart and draw attention to you. Even if it's controversial or scandals, it's better to be slandered and attacked than ignored. So, anyway, to end this on a positive note, listen, a lot of us might feel insecure in a world where, we're constantly glued to our phones and television and comparing ourselves and looking at what we don't have and feeling bad about ourselves, I just want to send a message, especially to men, let your personality shine. Like, don't be afraid of stuff that might set you apart. Like, this stuff sets me apart from most people, especially having the courage, and I'm blessed by the grace of God to having the courage to talk about it, not only in social media, but in person with my peers. And, people appreciate it. People don't always agree or like it, but people can respect that I have my own opinions, things like that. So it's not even just that. It's, just about being, I'm not all serious all the time. I like to joke around. I like to be humorous. I like to be funny. I'm not, this isn't my whole personality. It's just the only thing that I can talk extensively about. Because ultimately, I would love to have a podcast, or I'd love to have a radio show or something. That's what I'd love to do. But, I don't have the funds for that currently. But, ultimately, just don't be afraid. of the stuff that might draw attention to you or the stuff that sets you apart. Because if you want to feel happy and if you want people to like you for you, especially, you can't be afraid of the judgment of others. You can't be afraid to take your talents to the next level. You can't be afraid to elevate yourself as a man or as a woman. If you want to grow up, if you want to succeed in life, if you want to have growth in life, you have to elevate yourself, and that means changing that means changing your mindset, and that means taking risks. That means doing things you haven't done, taking risks. Maybe starting that business, investing in this, going up and talking to people, making friends, talking to that pretty girl, talking to that good-looking guy, making friends with people ultimately. Because here's the thing, even if they are controversial or they're scandals, or maybe people aren't saying good things about you, because here's the thing, if you're really elevating yourself as a person and you're getting to the next levels in life, there's going to be controversy around you. There's going to be potential scandals around you. But here's the thing, it is better to be slandered and attacked than ignored. Because here's the thing, if you're just completely ignored, and I've seen this firsthand, that's even worse than being made fun of. That's even worse. Because if you're just ignored, it's like you have no one. It's like just being invisible. It's like you don't get noticed. Your presence just is never acknowledged. And I'm telling you, I've seen what this does to someone, and it really could screw up their mind. But anyway, I'm going to stop talking here because my throat is really starting to bother me now. Yeah, 30 minutes, I don't know how long I went, but 30 minutes is my limit if I've gone that far. I can't do any more than that. So anyway, this is your best friend, Justin.